Today I want to talk about fuel tables and using the conversion button to look at things in VE mode. A lot of people don't know what VE is or how to use it, and they're used to the pounds per hour table, which is fine. But you can there's some advantages to using the conversion button every now and then to just spot check yourself. In general, your fuel graph in pounds per hour should always increase to the right and increase going up the table. So it should look about like this. The shape of the curve, how steep it is, will depend on the engine combo, whether it's naturally aspirated and boosted, and a million other factors. But in general, it should always increase. You can see this is a boosted engine making 30 pounds. And then the thing to check, and the cool thing with VE, if you convert it over, it should look something like this if you're boosted. It'll look a little different naturally aspirated, but the general concept is the same. Concepts being, when you go left to right at full throttle, it should follow pretty closely your torque curve. So the number itself is irrelevant, but the highest number should occur at peak torque, and then it should slope off and follow the line of your torque curve if you ever have it on a dyno. The other thing that's really great about VE is when you go to tune idle. You can look down here, and you can see the numbers look fairly smooth. We'll zoom in with the graph button, and we'll look at it again. You can see it's fairly smooth. And then you can look at it in VE mode and see that it's still fairly smooth. Now I'm going to open up another tune here and show you how that's not always the case. So this tune, with the graph button in the idle area, and it looks pretty smooth here, but if I hit the conversion button, you can see it's not so smooth. We've got VEs increasing to the left here, which is typically a no-no. It should remain flat or slope slightly downward. So this one, you can see there's a little crater here. It's craggly like this. So that's not good. This thing might idle okay, but there's room for improvement. And if it's not idling okay and it looks like this, you know what to do, just looking at VE. Once again, you go back to the pounds per hour, and you'd never know there's an issue. Switch back to the good tune that I was showing you a minute ago, and you can see this is how it looks in VE mode on a typically good tune. So you've got fairly smooth. The numbers don't increase very rapidly on this one. They could. You could have a lot steeper line, but in general, it should slope downward or remain fairly flat in the idle area, going left to right. Up and down on the table will depend a lot on camshaft and the engine in general, but it should be flat or sloping upward at some rate. When we're talking about converting from VE and pounds per hour, I just want to go back to the other tune I showed you earlier and look at the graph, and you can see how uneven it is here and how that's not a good looking fuel table in pounds per hour. But we can go ahead and convert it to VE, and it exaggerates it more, and you can see how bad it really is. You can see you got a big hump here, and then it drops back down. I mean, we go from 84 to 91 in 2 cells. And if we keep going, it comes back up to 87, and that doesn't work at all, because as we talked about earlier, it should follow the torque curve. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never seen a torque curve that looks quite like that. One other thing about looking at the table in VE versus pounds per hour is the VE number is affected greatly by 2 things, and that is the cubic inch parameter under your settings right here. So if this is incorrect, your numbers will be high or low in general. It'll just be off by a factor. And then also it is affected by your target AFR table. So if I were to change these numbers right here without changing anything else, my VE number will change in that table. So let's actually go ahead and do that real quick and have a look. So if we hit the conversion button, we can see our numbers are in the 30s and 40s down here in this area. I'm going to go ahead and hit the target AFR. And I'm going to go ahead and just offset these by 30%. And that's that'd be kind of an E85 number right there. So if I don't change the fuel, so it's asking if I want to update, I'm going to hit no just to show you this. If we go back to the base fuel, convert it to VE, our numbers dropped into the 20s. So we can see that because we asked for the same pounds per hour of fuel, but a different target air fuel number, that the VE number changes. So that's something important to keep in mind, that if you're playing with your target air fuel table and not updating the base fuel pounds per hour when you do it, your VE number will change. And sometimes that can tell you something, other times it can't, but it's something to keep in mind when you're doing, just so you know what's going on.